Okay, hey everybody, this is Grace, and I have another video. I'm thinking about attaching it to this one. And this one, I want to talk about the people who have done people wrong over decades, many years. And then they get to a point in their lives, like in their 60s or so, and whenever things start going wrong for them, health-wise, and they decide that they want to change their ways, and they basically become, let's say, if they're Christian. I don't talk about other religions because I don't know enough about them. Just let's say that they are Christian and they want to go through the pearly gates, and at least I think that's the right one attached to it. And so they want to change their ways and move on, in that direction. But they don't want to do the work as far as making amends to the people they hurt. Or they don't even think about that. They think, oh, that's stuff in the past and let's move on. That's what I want to talk about. Okay, and I do want to make this clear that I'm not talking about some kind of program that they're working on and they have to go and tell people they're sorry and make amends and stuff. I'm just talking about being a person, a human. The thing about it is, when I go back and think about it, the people that I have known who've done me wrong or who've done other people wrong, they don't ever get to that because they don't see it as wrong. Or do they? I mean, I can't read their minds. But it's like it's part of this disorder or that disorder. And I'm talking about some of them have been diagnosed with a borderline personality disorder. But I don't see them. I've never seen any of them apologize to anybody for anything, ever. Unless, I don't even know I could say unless it benefited them to do so, because I don't recall ever hearing them apologize for anything, ever. I'm talking about going all the way back to I was a child. So, but the thing about it is, just think, these are people who, to me, when I look at it, and I could be wrong, they go through life and they're living their best life. It's like, the ones who, mainly what I've seen in my life, like I said, some of them are diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. Mainly what I've seen from them is their behaviors are more like histrionic behaviors. They have to be the center of attention. They don't care what kind of attention it is, as long as they're getting attention. It could be bad, good, doesn't matter. They easily play the victim, have crocodile tears for whatever else. They're adult mean girls, adult mean boys, drama queens, drama kings. They just want so much attention that they will hurt anybody to get it. They will ruin somebody's life to continue to be what they see as queen bee or queen. What do you call it? A male male counterpart to that. Top dog, maybe. They'll do anything. It's like if you grew up in a town and or a small city, some community, whatever, they will work so hard to get you out of there. You and anybody else they see as a threat to them, to their where they want to be as the top person, and that everybody turns to, and everybody, and that they use the words everybody. Everybody or nobody, or everybody know, or common sense, as long as it meets what they think. So that's the only common sense to them that exists, is if it meets what they think. But they'll do anything to be on that pedestal that they put themselves on. Okay, they will try to ruin your life. I mean, even literally, just yeah, you can take it from there. I'm not going to, say all those stuff. I've been through that. Telling people who or kind of shady about you, when that's not a good thing. And on and on. And some of it would be that you can't visit. Like, you're young and they start this stuff and you get the heck out of Dodge, that whole expression. Get the heck out of Dodge. And to come back and see your parents or whomever is still living there, you can't, because they will throw temper tantrum. They will make it miserable for you. Very miserable for you. And to come back, no, you're not allowed. They'll tell everybody you're coming there just to start trouble. They have told everybody that you are nothing but trouble. And they don't want to have to work so hard to explain to people, or have people tell you what they're saying about you, and then have to work at it again. They've already set it all up. They play the victim. This person is victimizing me, and you're totally clueless to it because it's going on behind the scenes. You're just there to see your parents, or let's just say that your parent or parents, and or your best friends, whatever it is. They find out, they're there. They're going to make it miserable. And my voice is going out again. Man, the other day, Sunday, today is Thursday, the doctor put me on a medication, just one pill. That's all. It was just one pill. And oh man, I'm not going to say what kind it was, but if you know, you know. But it was so wonderful. All this stuff was just clear. I didn't have any of this. So, yeah. But anyway. Okay, back to this about the person. They've been going through their life. They have set it all up. They didn't have to move on. They didn't have to start over somewhere. And they could have done this to several people. If people just scatter, leave, because they made it so miserable for everybody. But then they played the victim, like I said. They would do it, yeah. They knew how to play it. And, so they went on with their life. They were born and raised there. They knew the people there. They knew the places there. They just, enjoyed it. But, say you or whomever, and when I say you, I just mean universal you kind of thing, not you who's watching, but, they just, they don't have to see what you have to go through. They are living their, seriously, I'm saying it again, they're living their best life. They're enjoying every day, every decade, every day, every week, every month, every year, on and on, decades. And let's say decades passed. Pass. And they're still enjoying life. But then they see, they think, maybe, I've just never known any two think this way. That maybe they should make amends to some people. I just have not known any of them too. Really. So you may be sitting there wondering, when are they ever, or maybe not. Maybe you've moved on so much over decades, it doesn't matter. But at the same time, you wonder, or you hear about, or something happens to them that's not good, like I said, and you hear about it, or you can be just online, you hear about it or read about it on Facebook. That person had something, like I don't know, a real bad health scare or something, and you wondered, are they ever going to, that maybe at that moment you see it, you see people are rallying around them and whatever, and you think, how do they wind up having so many friends? My own view is, when people have so many friends, or in the case of online followers, or both, subscribers, whatever, it's because they're not sincere. That's my experience. I'm not saying 100%. I'm not saying everyone. I'm not saying all that. But my experience has been, generally, they are not very genuine at all. It's just, Just really comes down to just to benefit them, period, when it comes down to it. Whether it's financial or just emotional or whatever, it's to benefit them and not anybody else. Anybody else in the way that they don't want in the way, collateral damage. They make sure. And the other people, I have seen this. I have actually seen people, people that I know that were like this. I've seen the results, of seeing things, not watching them. I'm hardly ever on Facebook, but when I am, I can just flip, go through and say, wow, wow, this kind of stuff is still going on. Like one of them I have, the town. I really don't remember too much of the people. That was a long time ago. And people have changed their appearance, of course, over years and decades. And I remember the names. I just don't remember much about them at all. And I didn't know everybody, but it's basically for, people who graduated that year. They were like, I don't know how many, 500, 800, I don't know. It was a lot. A lot of people graduated that year. And they had one high school. But anyway, just seeing, some of the stuff and the ones I do remember, and then seeing so many, like I was saying, till I interrupted myself, just seeing so many of them just be practically glorified. Like you see, online too, but they're being glorified by other people. You're like, how? These are really rotten people. And there's not a whole bunch of them, but just say one. For me, mainly it's one or two. Maybe more than that. But I really don't keep up. I really don't, do all that. But, just seeing it. Let me get back to this. Let me try not to interrupt myself. But seeing this and, wondering how can others be so fooled by them? And I don't like to say fooled because that's blaming the victim. Really it is. At least in my mind. But it's just like, I don't know if I'm going to put that video before or after this, and I'm not sure if I've mentioned this kind of thing in that to this extent. But, how people become popular when they're rotten people. They are rotten. I mean, there's no other way of describing it. How they use people. How they abuse people. How self-centered. How maybe it's the people who are watching just want to learn how to be that way too. I've gone through a lot of things. Like I said, I don't like blaming victims, but there are so many different types of people who could be watching that. There are the ones that are they're hoping to see that train wreck happen. And from that end of it to the people who are just totally naive, and so many points in between those two. The different types of people, different reasons. They might have a totally different reason than, this person or that person. You get it. But to glorify them, to put them up on, put them on a pedestal they already put themselves on. And I've always said, for as far back as I can remember, I'd said that, putting somebody up on a pedestal, what's going to happen is they're going to fall off and they're going to land on you and it's going to hurt. I heard something just the other day on some old, I think it was on Touched by an Angel. I hadn't watched that one. I mentioned I'm not too into TV. Adam says he remembers me watching it back then when it was out on TV. First came out. I don't know. I've been watching them, some of the episodes, not all of them, but yeah. And I think that one of them said something similar to that on it. I do more than just watch TV. I've never, like I said, I was never all that into it, but anyway. about putting somebody on a pedestal. Don't. As it is, if you're a Christian, you're not supposed to be glorifying anybody but God. You're not supposed to be glorifying some person, some human. And I think that's a good thing to go by, really, is not putting somebody on this pedestals. Think that they're all that in a bag of chips. How many people remember that? All that in a bag of chips. Wasn't it a song? I don't know. But to see somebody in that light. And then for me, like I've said in the past, mentioned this before, just seeing people rallying around this person, glorifying them, and truly not knowing them. If you're the person who truly knows them, you can't say truly, because there is apparently another side that those people out there feel so comfortable glorifying, and you have this deep-seated, I don't want to say hate. It's not hate. It's just knowledge, just the other side, just knowing what this person is, and having a negative view of them, very negative, because you know what they are capable of. And for somebody else, they may have been even worse, or still doing it and not as bad, but still doing it, getting their way, just changing people's directions of their lives. That nobody wants to live there. They have to go out into the world, get away from that crazy insanity, of that person, the total chaos, the fits of rage, the their temper tantrums, their bad mouthing, they're setting up people to hurt you. Like I said, I've been there. Harm you bad. It didn't happen, but they'd set them up to do so. So, all this kind of stuff, constant, regular basis, being around them, don't want to be there. Gotta move on. To have your choice basically taken away. And I know several people that's happened to. Basically taken away. And I can understand that people who, like me, are going through life wondering, what if I had stayed there? How would it have been? Would it have been better? I think this question is kind of normal. I wouldn't say it's something to focus on too much, because you can't change it and you never will know. And all that, and don't hurt yourself. They hurt you enough. But I don't give it advice to anybody of any kind. So, but yeah. But to think, what if that person got to that point where they say, I want to make amends to people. So once again, they're setting themselves up to be in that position. You know what I mean? Okay. But yeah, for them, for some, maybe they would do that. They want to get, like, the attention is, they want to still get attention by saying, well, in my life, I've done people wrong, and I know I've done them wrong, and I want to make amends to them. I didn't mean any true harm. They'll come up with something to make themselves still, in some way, in a twisted kind of way, they're still the victim. You see? Do you get it? Really think about that. If they say, oh, I know I didn't do them right, and I need to contact them, and you'll tell them that I'm sorry. Because there's somewhere in it, and my voice is going out, but somewhere in it, okay, somewhere in this, they're suffering. They want to put that out there. They're suffering some way, somewhere. That somehow, some way, that person is still the cause of their suffering and their misery and their You see? Whatever it is, they're going to do that. And that they don't see it any different. I mean, this is a possibility. There's some that would see it totally different. But I really do think that some of them, they are not going to see it that way. They might not even be, having that part of, I guess that would be Machiavellianism, maybe. Maybe? But they're not going to see that part. They're just going to see they're doing the right thing, and what they say is the right thing to say. They don't see it as wrong. They don't see them. They're not plotting and planning. They're just saying it because that's what to them comes naturally. But still, if you went there, back home, like people had always called it, and you go, and all of a sudden people, like you grew up around, and they're looking at you and they're giving you dirty looks, or they don't even want to speak to you, or you're like, what the heck? What? I haven't been here in X amount of years, and this is total, people act like that, but that's because of that person. And it could be decades, and you run across somebody, and still they're seeing you as evil, because that person sets you up as evil, okay, and them as perfect angels. But, like I'm saying, how does it make you feel knowing your life? Well, I don't even ask that question. I'm asking myself, how much should I? To me, to tell you the truth, it's like I moved on. And every once in a while I'll see something on Facebook, and it'll make me go, And some of it I'm so indifferent. I really am indifferent because I know what that person is. I truly know. I've known for a long time, and a long time I've felt this indifference, but just sometimes seeing it is like what is, it's not about me, it's about, I feel for the other people who are still around that person, still, like I said, it's not even just one person, it can be other ones too, they're having to deal with that, just like with these online grifters, e-beggars, all that. Oh, here goes my voice again. Just like, with them, they use people, and it's just lather, rinse, repeat, but quite often it's just different people. People get on there, they practically glorify these people because they're master manipulators. Okay, they're master manipulators. And then once they see the light, sometimes I think some of them would feel so embarrassed if they ever see the light. But some of them, they get so embarrassed, about what they weren't seeing, what they had to wake up to. And then they just move on, and they just stop. They don't want to show, basically show their face, but you get the gist. They don't want to be in chats, online chats. They don't want to leave comments. They just move on from it. But it's lather, rinse, repeat in that sense. These grifters, these swindlers, these e-beggars, they find other people who are going to, like what spurred me on, when was it, yesterday, is knowing that this person was setting up for a big win, a big payments. Payments is not the right word, but to get basically to earn it, not earn either, they're not earning it, to get a lot of money from their audience. I mean, a big amount, and they're just setting it up. Again, this is not the first time. Again. And this is, this one is going to, when people, like I had said, I put that before or after, I don't know. But people who have said, I've said before this about, they claim they don't have money for groceries, they do this, they claim them, it claims them, it claims them. And the next thing you know, you'll see, because they're going to brag about it. That's the weird thing, is they will brag about it. And you would think a lot of their audience would, so, whoa, this person's eating high off the hog, whatever way you want to see that, but eating better than I, and I'm helping them out with what little I can. And they eat much better than I do. And they're talking about they don't have money for groceries for months now. Yeah, they're making meals, cooking meals that are expensive. And they're going out to eat. They're going on vacation. And I think that's the next one that it is. And that one, particular one, is the whole show of they're going to go on a big expensive vacation. I mean, all expenses paid, by their audience. That's what it's going to be. I'm truly believing it. And they set it up over time, little bits here, little bits there. And they really are good at this. I've seen this, like I said, the person in person since I was born. Okay? These people can set up stuff. You would think if they would use all that if they could, I've noticed they're not that smart. Really, they're not that smart. But they can use stuff like that to get what they want. As far as intelligence, no. They did horrible in school kind of thing. But they do know how to manipulate. That's their skill. To them, it's a skill. To them, everybody else is stupid. Okay, so anyway. But I do want to talk more eventually about these, the ones that I know. Because it's been off and on in my mind for, I don't know how many, much of this year, and it's not constant, of course. It's just every once in a while the thought pops up. And maybe once a month, if it's that much. Because really so much of it I have just moved on from over all these decades. They haven't really been much of a part of my life as an adult. The people who are like this, people who know them, people I know who know them, no, they really haven't been, in my life. Just because they were there when I was young, when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, before all the craziness started off, got really bad, and I left, and before all that doesn't mean that they are important now, because they're not in my life now. They haven't been in my life for almost all of my adulthood. So, but still, those things, I think many people can relate. Whatever happened, bad or good or indifferent, whatever, when we were really young, can be in our minds for our lifetime. Through all, because those were all those years of learning, and there's a lot to unpack, a lot. And, my experience is little things will just pop up every once, especially lately. I've had little things, little memories just pop up, and I'm like, wow. Little flashbacks. And some of them really aren't flashbacks as in anything bad flashbacks. Some of them are just like regular good times. Or just little situations or little flashes of people that I saw back then. Or situations. Nothing, not too bad, but still. When the good stuff was going on, the bad was lurking around. You know what I'm saying? So, Anyway, I think I'm going to wrap this one up. I think I'm going to put these two together. I want to start trying again, as if I haven't. I have tried before. I actually have. Doing premieres. And I know that people don't. There's only one channel that I ever have had it work right on, and that was my original channel, and which is today. Oh yeah, I just looked. Today is 11 years. 11 years anniversary. 11, man. Of that channel. Seriously, I hardly ever use it. Well, I do use it. I've used it over these 11 years, but not like I did when I first started. So, but yeah, 11 years. Wow. Anyway. You know what? I think didn't I say I was going to wrap this up, but why was I talking about the 11 years? I'll tell you, see what happens in 11 years. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. And I know I left some things open. It's nothing unusual for me. So I'll talk to y'all in another video. Bye.